welcome back to our Narayan Pew College online classes. So in your previous classes we were discussing about Boolean algebra, constructor, destructor and all, and today we are going to see a new chapter called data structure. Okay, data structure carries 14 marks. I repeat, data structure in your part A. In your part A, data structure carries the highest marks. The total marks allocated for data structure is 14 marks. Okay, we have two 5-mark questions. So in your part D, the 5-mark questions from this chapter will get two 5-mark questions, 1-mark question, 2-mark question and 3-mark question. 1-mark question 1, 2-mark question, 3-mark question, but we do have two 5-mark questions. The total allocated marks according to your blueprint, the second PUC blueprint, the marks allocated for data structure is 14. Okay, so in part A, the weightage goes for data structure. So you need to concentrate much on this chapter. Okay, fine. Now I'll just tell you what is the definition for this topic, this chapter name, data structure. Data, when I talk about data, even I have discussed in your previous classes, what do you mean by data? Data is a collection of, what does mean by data? Data is a collection of raw facts and figures. I repeat, data is a collection of raw facts and figures. For example, if I want to collect data about a student, imagine, I take the name of the student as a data. If I talk about name, a student will have first name, middle name, first name, middle name and last name. First name, middle name and last name. So what do you mean by data? Data is a collection of raw facts and figures. It could be letters, it could be symbols, it could be images, video, audio, etc. Now for example, if I take student, I need to collect data about the student. I just took name as a thing. Okay, if I take name, the name of the student contains first name, middle name and last name. I need to tell data can be a single value or a set of values. Data can be a single value or a set of values. Here, see, imagine name, I have first name, middle name, last name. But when I take register number as a data, if I collect register number, I have a single data. So here it is a single value, here it is a set of value. I repeat, data is a collection of raw facts and figures. This data could be a single value, for example, the name of a student, and the data can be a set of values, or the data can be a single value. Single value example is register number of the student. Set of values example is the name of the student. I repeat, what do you mean by data? Data is collection of raw facts and figures. I gave you the example of single value and set of values. Now what is the meaning of structure? What is the meaning of structure? Now this data has to be organized. It has to be organized efficiently in the memory, in the computer memory. So we need a data structure. Data structure provides us an efficient way to organize the data in the memory. So what is the definition for data structure? Data structure is a specialized format for organizing and storing the data. It is a format. It provides a format and an organized way we can store the data in the memory of the computer. So I repeat, the data of the student has to be stored in the computer memory. This memory, in the memory when you store, it has to be stored in an organized way. Otherwise we cannot get back the data. Now and then when we want, we cannot get back the data. For everything there is a structure. This efficient way of organizing the data in the database is called as a data structure. So we'll see different algorithms which provides us to maintain the data in the data structure. Students, we were discussing about the definition of data structure. I spoke about definition for data structure. Next, we move on to classification of data structure. Please keep the definition in your mind. It is 1-mark question. What is data structure? Data structure is a specialized format for organizing and storing the data in the computer. I repeat, data structure is a specialized format for storing and organizing data in the memory or in the computer. So we have classification of data structure. So data structure is broadly classified into primitive data structure and non-primitive data structure. Primitive data structure and non-primitive data structure. Under primitive data structure we have integer, floating point, character and pointer. I I repeat, under primitive we have integer, floating point, character and pointer. In non-primitive data structure, we have again three types: arrays, lists and files. Arrays, lists and files. In arrays again we have single dimensional array, we have two dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. We call single dimensional as one dimensional to one dimensional array, two dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. Then again in the list we have two types of, we have two categories. One is linear data structure and non-linear data structure. In linear we have stacks, queues and linked lists. In non-linear data structure we have trees and graphs. Okay. Now we'll see about each and everything in detail. So data structure, I told why we need data structure, is a format for storing and organizing data. So in that I have primitive data structure. What is the definition for primitive data structure? This is also in there for exam point of view. It's very important for 1 mark. What do you mean by primitive data structure? Primitive data structures are the data structures which directly operates on the mission level instructions. I repeat, primitive data structures directly operates on the mission level instructions. We have integer, floating point, character and pointer. Okay. Next, in non-primitive data structure which is not directly operated on the mission level instructions, we have arrays, lists and files. And arrays, when I talk about arrays, even in your first year PUC arrays chapter you have seen. What is the definition for arrays? What is the definition of arrays? Array is also one of the type of data structure which stores the element in a linear homogeneous. It is a collection of homogeneous elements which has the same name or a common name and the common data type. Which has the same name and the same data type, where all the elements are homogeneous elements. That means similar type of elements. It is a contiguous. It has a contiguous memory allocation. What do you mean by contiguous? Continuous in a linear fashion. Okay, the collection of homogeneous type of elements under a common name and a common data type, we call it as an array. So array we have three types: single dimensional, one dimensional, or it is single dimensional, two dimensional and multi-dimensional. For an array, if we have the subscript, okay, when I declare an array, if the subscript is single, that is single dimensional. If the subscript or the index for this two-dimensional array, if it is 2, if you want to represent the matrices and all in your memory, we use two-dimensional array. One is for row, one is for column. We call that as multi-dimensional array. When we have a two-dimensional array, when we have to store more than 2, we go for multi-dimensional array. Okay, next we have linear data structure. The name itself is linear. Linear means what? In a line, in a row. Okay, the horizontal thing, when we store the thing in a linear fashion, in a linear fashion, we call this as a linear data structure. We arrange it in a linear fashion. For example, stacks, queues and linked lists. Non-linear, it is not in a linear fashion. The data, we link the data. Data can be anywhere. It can be randomly stored. It need not to be in the linear fashion. So we call such type of data structure as non-linear data structures. We have trees and graphs. We will discuss about this each in your future classes. We will see what are this primitive, non-primitive. Especially we will be discussing about your arrays, your types of arrays, and we will discuss about linear data structure and non-linear data structure. Next we will move on to the operations of the data structure. Okay guys, we discussed about the classification of data structure. Under classification of data structure, I spoke about primitive data structure and non-primitive data structure. Just keep in your mind, data structure is broadly classified into two types. One is primitive and non-primitive. What do you mean by primitive data structure? Primitive data structure are the data structures which directly operates on the mission level instruction. Primitive data structures are the data structures which directly operates on the mission level instruction. Mission level instructions. Example, I gave you integer, floating point, character and pointers. Okay. Now I will discuss about the operations on primitive data structure. What are the operations we can perform on your data structure? I written DS, that means it stands for data structure. Let's just listen. Operations on primitive data structure. The operations of primitive data structure, we have the first operation as create. We need to create your data structure. If we want to allocate the memory for a data structure, we need to tell the memory what type of data structure it is, whether it is an integer, it is a character, it is a floating point, whatever it is. We need to inform the memory in the prior hand what type of data you are going to store. So mainly why we use create option? Create option is to use to create the data structure. Mainly it is used to allocate memory for the given variable. For example, if I want to allocate memory for the variable x, if I tell the data type as int, you know, you are aware of how to declare a variable. If I tell the data type integer and I declare a value x, the memory allocated for x is 2 bytes. Isn't it or not? The memory allocated for the given variable, it is 2 bytes. Why? Because it is an integer data type. So this is the way in which you allocate the memory for the given variable. So when this happens at the time of creating your data structure, why we created data structures? To allocate memory. Okay, next we go for destroy. So the vice versa of this. So now you created a memory for your data structure. When you want to deallocate by destructor, we just deallocate the memory which have been allocated. Here we allocate, here we destroy. That means we deallocate the memory which you have allocated for the data structure. Now the next type of operation, the next operation which is performed on a data structure is select. Select, it is used to access the elements. It is used to access the elements. To access the elements in your data structure. If you want to access the elements, we basically use select option to access your element in your data structure. Next, we have update. Update is basically why to change the value. When you change the value in your data structure, it has to be updated. So for that updation, we use an update operation. For example, previously I have assigned the value for excess to. Now I need to update the value. Now I am assigning the value for x is 4. Now this is an updated value. If you want to do this, we go for the what operation? Update operation. So what are the operations? What are the possible operations which we can perform on your primitive data structure is create, destroy, select and update. Next we see about non-primitive data structure. So guys, now we discussed about the classification of data structure. In classification of data structure, I told two major classification, primitive and non-primitive. We discussed about the operations which are performed on the primitive data structure. Now I tell you non-primitive data structure. Non-primitive data structure is not directly operated on the mission level instruction. Instead, it has been derived from the, it has got the features, it has been derived from the primitive data structures. In the primitive data structure, we take several features from the primitive data structure. Now then we will get a non-primitive data structure which is meant to operate both heterogeneous and homogeneous type of elements. It can be homogeneous. Homogeneous means same type of elements. It can be heterogeneous. It can be different type of elements. Your non-primitive data structure has the efficiency to operate to act upon both heterogeneous and homogeneous type of elements. And non-primitive data structures, we discuss about arrays, lists and files. So in arrays, this array is the best example for your non-primitive data structure. In arrays, we need to discuss about the definition for arrays, single dimensional, two dimensional and multi-dimensional. That will see in your upcoming sessions, or in today's class if possible, I will explain you the arrays and its types. Now, next when I spoke about the non-primitive data structures, I told arrays, lists and files. When I talk about lists, we have two types there. We have linear data structure and non-linear data structure. That also falls under the category of non-primitive. Under list, we have linear data structure. Linear data structure and non-linear data structure. I repeat, we have linear data structure and non-linear data structure and a non-primitive data structure. Okay. Now, linear. The name itself tells the data is stored in a linear fashion. The data is stored in a linear fashion. For linear data structures, we have seen stacks, queues, linked list are the example for linear data structure where the data is contiguously stored in a contiguous memory, means continuous memory. Here a little, there a little. There is not a concept of here we store the data, there we store somewhere the data. Nothing doing. We have to store the data in a linear fashion. At a stretch, in a contiguous memory, even the memory will be allocated continuously. That is the meaning of linear. In a linear fashion, in a continuous fashion. And what type of elements we can store? Homogeneous type of elements. Okay. Now this non-linear data structure, we need to interlink the data which we have stored. For example, here I have data, here too I have data, here too I have data. Now I link it. Several types of data are interlinked, okay. We call this as trees and graphs. The best example for non-linear data structure are trees and graphs, where the data is present in different places, but there is a link between those data. Several types of data are interlinked. That type of data structures we call it as a non-linear data structure. Example, trees and graphs, okay. Now later we discuss about the operations which are performed on the linear and non-linear data structure. So we were discussing about linear and non-linear data structure. Now we have to see the operations, the operations which are performed on the linear data structure. So you just keep in mind the data which we are going to store, it should be in a contiguous, in a linear fashion. That means in a line. We used to store the data in a sequential, in a linear fashion. So the first operation which we carry out on a linear, these are not 2 marks question. What are the operations which are performed on the linear data structure, or operations which are performed on the primitive data structure? So you better please don't get confused. Primitive data structure, it is the operations which we are performing on the DS. I mean the data structure, otherwise that is different. We have create, update, select, delete. But here we have operations which are performed on a linear data structure, and this is different. Don't get confused. The operations which is performed on a primitive data structure is different. I am stressing this why, because quite commonly when I ask the operations for DS, primitive data structure, you write it this. If I ask for linear, you write the vice versa. So please be clear, the operations which are performed on your linear data structures, we have traversal, insertion, deletion, searching, sorting and merging. So the first operation which we carry out on your linear data structure is traversal. So just have written the process of accessing each data element, okay, in your data structure, I call it as a traversal. So imagine the data is arranged in a linear fashion. When I want to access the elements which is stored in your memory, see, imagine I have a data structure like this. So now I have the elements. So if you want to access each element which we have stored in a linear data structure, I need to traverse, isn't it? Traverse. So I am traversing to access each element in your data structure, that is called as traversal. Next operation, insertion. The process of adding or inserting an element in your data structure is called as insertion. I repeat, the process of adding. Now I want to add, imagine this place I want to add 20. So insertion, if I give at the given position, given index 1, at the position 1 I need to insert the element 20. So the process of adding a new element in the data structure is called as insertion. The process of adding. So insertion, the process of adding an element in your data structure. Deletion, the process of removing. Now I want to remove 30 at location 2, at index 2. If I want to delete an element, so we call removing. I am removing an element in a data structure, that is called as deletion. Next, searching. That means I am searching. I am just looking in for some information. Now I am just searching whether the given element is present in your data structure. I just go for searching. The process of searching for a given element in a data structure is called searching. Next I have sorting. The process of the arrangement, the process of arrangement, whether it is a sorting, okay. The given element will not be in a sorted form. It may not be arranged in an ascending order or descending order, whatever order it is, it has to be in a sorted form, okay. The process of arranging the elements in ascending order or descending order, we call it as sorting. Next we have merging. That means we are adding, we are joining two DS, we call it as merging. I repeat, the different types of operations which we performed on a linear data structure are traversal, insertion, deletion, searching, sorting and merging. Next we see a next concept, types of arrays. Next we discuss about arrays. So I told you arrays falls under which category? It falls under non-primitive data structure. In non-primitive data structures we have arrays, list and we have files, okay. In arrays we have, what is, first we'll see definition for arrays. What is an array? An array is a collection of homogeneous, I told homogeneous means similar, same type. An array is a collection of homogeneous elements with unique name and the same data type. type, or with a common name and a common with the same data type. The name and the data type should be same, and we can store only the same type of elements, similar type of elements in the data structure. We call that as an array. And I repeat, an array is a collection of homogeneous elements with unique name and the same data type. We call it as an array. So we have seen three types of arrays. One is one dimensional. So the types of array: one dimensional array, we have two dimensional array, and we have multi-dimensional array. I repeat, the types of arrays. When I talk about types of array: one dimensional array, two dimensional array, and multi-dimensional array. So we'll see each in detail. What is one dimensional, two dimensional, and multi-dimensional. Okay. Now we discuss about one dimensional array. I spoke about array. Array is a collection of homogeneous type of elements with a common name and the common data type, or a unique name and the same data type. In one dimensional array, I have written these two main points. Elements are contiguous. That means elements are stored in a continuous manner, one after the other. Okay, elements are stored in a contiguous manner. Elements are referred by indexing. I'll tell you what you mean by indexing. Elements are referred by indexing. Imagine I am taking and contiguous. Imagine this is a continuous memory allocation. So one after the other I am just writing. So 10, 20, 30, 40. You are aware of these are called as elements. These are called as array elements. When I give the indexing, so I give 0, 1, 2, 3. Always the array starts from, the indexing starts from 0. The indexing of an array starts from 0. This is called as base, or this is called as index, or this is called as position or location. However, because we have a numerous number of names we have for this indexing, basically we call this as indexing or positioning. So this is position or index. The index of the element 10 is 0. The index of element 20 is 1, 30 is 2, and 3 is 40. Okay. At location 3 we have 40. So what is the index? 3. So these are called as index. These are called as index. The elements which we present inside the array, we call this as elements. Array elements. Okay, or items. Array elements is also called as item, data element, and these are called as indexing. So all the elements are referred by indexing. So the syntax for array is, first we need to mention the data type, next array name and the size. For example, if I want to declare an integer array, how will I declare? I write the data type as integer. So for int, what is the data type here? If it is int, means it is an integer type of data. So I am giving the array name as A. You can give M, you can give N, that is user defined. It's your choice. You can give the array name. Then I need to put a square bracket. Inside that you need to mention your size of an array. This is also called as subscript. So inside your thing you need to mention the size. Imagine I am giving the size as 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you can give how many ever type of how many ever memory you are needed. You can give the size of the array here. So after your array name you have to mention the size of an array. So the data type, the syntax is, we have data type as integer, array name as A, and the size of an array is 4. So if you want to give 5, you can give 5. That means it will be from 0 to 4. Always 1 less than what you have declared. Why? Because you have started storing it from 0th position. For example, now what is this? How to identify the position of the given size 4? It is 3. 0 to 3. How many elements we can store? 4 elements. If we are given 5, n minus 1. So that is n minus 1. If you get 4 means how many elements? We are storing 5 array elements in an array. So this is about array. The syntax. Now we'll see about what is the definition. We have seen about one dimensional array, the features as well as the syntax. Now we'll see explicitly the features of the arrays. So here I spoke about the features of arrays. Array will always have a positive numbering only. So arrays cannot go in a negative integer. It always starts with your positive numbers only. Array starts with the positive numbers only, and string terminates by using null character. The string is terminated. For example, if I store computer, or if I store first UC, if I store computer. If I store computer, the last bit of the last part of your memory bit, it has to be ended by using this null symbol. See, this is nothing but your null symbol. That means the string array is ending. The string is ending. That is with the help of the null symbol. Next we have the array elements are counted from 0 to n minus 1. I told you. Now how will I count the array elements? 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't it? What is the positioning? It is always n minus 1. Now what is my n? My n is 4. Okay. Now what is n minus 1? 4 minus 1 is 3. So it is your indexing. Now useful for multiple reading of elements. We can by knowing the indexes, we can go and read each and every element by using a traversal option. I repeat, we have seen about the one-dimensional array, its features we have seen. Explicitly we have seen the features of an array. We have seen the syntax and how the array elements are saved. Next we will see two-dimensional array. Next we discuss about calculating the length of an array. I spoke about array. Imagine here also I have taken an example array. Array is a collection of homogeneous elements. I told you it is continuously stored. Imagine it is an array. So I have stored the elements. Now in an array, if I want to calculate the length of an array, we have to use a formula ub minus lb plus 1. Here I have mentioned lower bound, the length of an array can be calculated by using upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. Okay, upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. So if you take in an array, imagine I have an array. So these are my array elements 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my lower bound LB. This is my upper bound UB. So my lower bound is 0. My upper bound is 4. Just put it into this formula. 4 minus 1 plus 1. Okay. So what is 4 minus 1? 3. What is 3 plus 1? 4. No, 1 here. So your lower bound is 0. Here you need to put 0. 4 minus 0 plus 1. What is your upper bound? Upper bound is 4. Lower bound is 0 plus 1. I repeat. L is equal to UB minus LB plus 1. What is your upper bound? 4. What is your lower bound? 0. 4 minus 0 is 4 only. 4 plus 1 is 5. So lower bound, upper bound minus lower bound plus 1 is 5. So your length of an array is 5. That means always the array indexing starts from 0. So here what we are doing? So we are minusing upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. 4 minus 0 is nothing but 4 only. 4 plus 1. 1 you have to add. Okay. So 1 if you add, you will get the length of an array. Next, I will explain you about the representation of one-dimensional array. This is the representation. When they ask you to explain about one-dimensional array, you need to talk about the features of one-dimensional array, the syntax, and you have to tell about this representation. So imagine I have taken array. I have an addressing. It starts from 0. So it starts from 1000, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. These are called as addresses of your array. And here I have the content, the array elements. A, B, C, D is a content. These are the array elements. See, imagine this is a string. Now S is a string. I have A, B, C, D. So this A, B, C, D, the string array is stored in an array. Okay, next I have sub S means I have the subscript. I can call it a subscript or location or position. S of 0, S of 1, S of 2, S of 3, S of 4. These are called as locations. These are called as location. Okay, these are called as location, these are content, these are addressing. Now what they are telling, for a given location, how to find the addressing. For a given location, how we are going to find the addressing. Imagine they are giving the location as S of 3, string of 3. Now A means it always represents the starting address, your base address. Okay, P is nothing but the position or the location of an element. So I will take location A of, it's nothing but 3 is equal to, what is the base address of A? Your base address of A is 1000 plus, here W stands for word per memory in a cell. Now how many words I stored per memory cell? 1. So W stands for the word which we stored per memory. So W here is 1. Only one letter, one alphabet I stored for memory. So W value is 1. Word per memory. Now P is nothing but the location, that is nothing but 3, minus what is your lower bound? Okay, your lower bound is 0. Always the lower bound will be 0. While only in the calculation, if you traverse, the lower bound may change, but here the lower bound is 0, we are not traversing. So now 1000, so this will become 3. So 1003. So what is the base of location? The base of S3, what is the S3 address here? 1003. So at 1003, we are getting the element D. So what they are telling, by using this formula, if they tell you to find out, if they give you the location, if they ask you to find out the address of this, we can find out. How to find out? Location of A of P is equal to base of A plus W into P minus LP. So what is location A of P? A is nothing but your starting base address. That of 3 you are going to calculate. This is nothing but your S of 3, your address of 3, your address of this 3, third index. P is nothing but the position or the location of an element. Base of A is nothing but the starting address, that is 1000, plus W stands for words per memory cell. If it is 2 bytes per memory, we will take it as 2, 3 means 3, here it is 1. We are storing only one thing in a memory cell, one letter in a memory cell. Next we have P is nothing but your location on your memory, location of an element, that is 3 minus their lower bound is 0. So when you in this formula, when you apply 3 minus 0 is 3, 3 into 1 is 3. So 1000 plus 3 we have 1003, that is nothing but your address. This 1003 is an address of your one dimensional array. Next we discuss about the basic operations which are performed on one dimensional array. Students, now we'll see the basic operations on one dimensional array. We discussed about one dimensional array. See, I repeat what we have discussed in the arrays. In arrays, we have discussed about the definition for arrays and the types of arrays. Now, in the types of arrays, first we discussed about one dimensional array. In one dimensional array, we discussed about what is the features of one dimensional array, how to calculate the formula. If you want to represent a single element, okay, finite number of elements, we go for one dimensional array. If the array subscript is 1, if you want to tell us a finite number of elements to be stored in an array, we go for one dimensional element, one dimensional array. So in that array, we have discussed about how to calculate the length of an array. The length of an array is calculated as upper bound minus lower bound plus 1. Next we discussed about the formula. We have seen how to calculate the address in a one dimensional array. Next we will see the operations on one dimensional array, as it is how we have seen the operations for a non-linear data structure. We discussed, we have the basic operations of one dimensional array are same. We have traversal, we have insertion, okay, we have searching, sorting, merging, etc. Same type of operations even here we perform on your one dimensional array. Now we have an algorithm how to traverse in a linear array. I repeat, how to do a traversal. What do you mean by traversal? Just visiting or accessing each element in an array, we call it as a traversing. We are visiting the thing, at least once we are visiting to access the elements in an array, is called as a traversal. Now I have an algorithm which has been written. Now we are using, now it is the simple, like if even we implement this algorithm by using program, what we'll do, first we'll ask the number of elements, we'll declare the size of an array, then we'll take the number of elements, then for the reading the number of, first test we'll take the size of an element, size of an array, then number of elements to be stored in an array. After to read the number of elements stored in an array, we use the for loop. Then to display the number of elements in an array, again there we use a for loop. Here we are just performing the traversal in an array. Now see, I have taken algorithm for a linear array. Okay, how to do a traversal in a linear array. Imagine this is your linear array. This is your linear array. Here we have, what is your lower bound? This is your lower bound. This is your upper bound. What is your lower bound? Lower bound is 0. Upper bound is 4. Okay. So in a for loop, for location is equal to till your lower bound. It starts from 0 to 4. 0 to 4. We are going to use your for loop. Okay. Now process location A. Now how we are going to process location A? What is A? Imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Array A of 5. So A is your array name. 5 is your size. This is your size. This is your array name. Array name. So what is A of location here? These are your location. So first when I traverse, what will be my A of 0? My A of 0 is 10. Next, again your for loop I will be incremented. What is your A of 1? What is your A of 1? A of 1 is 20. Again it's incremented. A of 2. This is array, this is your location, A of location. So location is 0. At location 0 I have the element 10. At location 1 I have element 20. At location 2 I have 30. At location 3 I have 40. At location 4 I have 50. This is how we travel in a linear array. The for loop ends, we exit. I repeat, here in the linear traversal we have a for loop. So how we are going to traverse is based on your location, that is based on your lower bound plus upper bound. So in your lower bound we have, it starts from 0, your upper bound it starts from, it ends at 4. So when I do a traversal, if A is equal to, if location A of 0, what I am visiting? I am visiting 10. If it is 1, I am visiting 20. If it is 2, 30. If it is 3, 40. If it is 4, it is 50. So we wind up today's session. Why? Because in your next session we need to discuss about linear search and binary search. Your searching techniques we discuss in your next class. Thank you.